Okay, today our discussion is about history of the computer, right? Which is the last part of lesson number 1. And basically, so this is also a theoretical part, but let me summarize the content for you. And I'll send this note to you now, so you can download this from. No, English medium video also I have shared, Timasha. I have shared English medium video also, right? Single medium video as well as the English medium video. Wait, if you want the video link again, I'll share it here. Right. So basically, when it comes to this history of the computing, we can divide the history into basic 4 eras. The first one is pre-mechanical era, where ancient people used to do the calculations. Ancient Greek and Roman people, basically, they were really good in numbers, and how they did the calculation using devices, not actually devices, those are kind of even man-made products, but you can call devices like abacus. That is like 5,000 years ago, right? 5,000 years ago, initially people used to calculate things using their fingers in hands and legs, but they found it's easy to have the symbols as well as easy to use machines for calculations, as those are repetitive work. So people became lazy and they invented machines. Inventors became intelligent, but users became like they lose the intelligent part and they became just dummies because of these inventions. But anyway, so let's learn. So pre-mechanical era, abacus-like devices were used. In mechanical era, so there were some inventions like the Pascaline machine, punch card, and Jacquard loom-like thing. So there was such introduction. And after that, the electromechanical era, that is before the World War. So mostly electronic and mechanics both were used in inventions, and after the World War II, around 1940, and after that, mostly electronic devices are used. That is electronic era. So those are the 4 eras that you can clearly divide the computer history. So these years, I would like to highlight about this. These years can be changed, right? May අවුරුදු මේ විදිහටම මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. Maybe roughly you can remember the year, but maybe source to source or different maybe books indicating different eras, different durations. So roughly these are the areas. Anyway, so the first image is abacus. So this is used by ancient people to do the calculation. Still this is useful, no? We are also using this kind of devices, abacus, for manual calculations. And then the Pascaline machine is something like this. So this is a picture of Pascaline machine, and this was capable of doing addition as well as subtraction. එකතු කිරීම අඩු කිරීම තමයි කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Initial Pascaline was supporting only addition and subtraction. But anyway, so even it support addition and subtraction. Using addition and subtraction, it is possible to do. It was possible to do multiplication. For an example, think like this: 2 into 5. The same thing you can write like 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So anyway, so multiplication can be done using addition, repetitive addition, and using repetitive division, also repetitive subtraction, division could be done. So that is how the multiplication and multiplication and division was done in Pascaline, but directly it support addition and subtraction only. Pascaline support addition and subtraction only. Okay, after these things, so these kind of this is actually a paper, but with some holes. paper with some holes. This is called punch card. This was introduced. Who invented punch card? Who has invented punch card? Yes. Can anyone tell the name of inventor? Okay, I'll ask from Nithila. Who invented punch card? Nithila?
Yes, sir.
Who invented punch card? Okay, no idea. Let's go to Timasha. Timasha. Okay, the inventor. So if you don't know, please write down. Inventor is, so punch card was invented by Herman Hollerith. Right, please write down if you don't know. So this is like basic input-output mechanism in the mechanical era. Punched card. This was invented by Herman Hollerith. So let me check the spellings, right? So this is by Herman Hollerith. Yeah. Herman Hollerith, and he's the inventor of punch card. So please write down because it is not there in the note. Right, we are doing the history of computing part. Right, we are doing the history of computing part. Punch card was invented by Herman Hollerith, and this is the structure of this is actually how it looks like. And this was used in input purpose. To give inputs, this was used. To take outputs, this was used. Like a printer, print out. Like output, this was used as an input. So it was used. Not only that, as a storage also, this was used. Here, this is mentioned in like Leibniz. He has improved Pascaline to division and multiplication. This is 1674. See the era. 1674 තමයි Pascaline එක 42 Pascaline හඳුන්වලා දෙන්නේ. 74 තමයි Pascaline improve වෙන්නේ for division and multiplication. And he used to feed in data using punch card. So punch card is actually, so have you seen how papers are marked in your MCQ examination papers? Mark කරන හැටි දැකලා තියෙනවද ඔයගොල්ලෝ? Have you seen how these papers are marked manually? Yes or no? Yes or no? MCQ papers දාන්නවනේ අර බෝල පාට කරන්නේ නැත්නම් ක්‍රොස් මේ බෝල කතිර කපන්න තියෙන කතිරයක් දාන්න තියෙන. ඒවා මාක් කරන්නේ කොහොමද? MCQ paper answer marking. So if you have holes, how to mark them? So let me show one video. This is how teachers manually mark this, right? It's very easy. Answers, right? Then you can just read the unanswered questions, and since there are 50 questions, you can say it's 45 out of 50. It's the easiest way of marking that, right? Have you seen? Again, see this. The wrong answers are marked and marks deducted. So this is good when you have only one answer, right? This is good because if you have multiple answers, then anyway it's not correct. It's good when you have multiple answers. Okay, so punch card is something like this. The card or the paper is punched in some areas. So it can be used to feed data, compare data. It can be used to output data or store data. Got the idea? Or not?
Yes, sir. Got the idea.
Right, okay. So then, so here, Joseph Jacquard, the person called Joseph Jacquard, he has invented something called Jacquard loom. So this is in addition to the book content, right? In your book also, there are some contents, we'll read that. And here, this is not a computer, this is a weaving machine. Machine. So this weaving machine is given, the patterns are given by using a punch card. Punch card pattern වලට අනුව තමයි weaving machine එක. So here you can see, according to punch card patterns, so weaving machine was working. So these two people are also very important in the history of computing. So can you remember the role, the character? Who's this and who's this?
Charles Babbage.
Yes, first one is Charles Babbage. He was the one who invented analytical and differential engine. So second one is Lady Ada Lovelace, called to be the first programmer, right? Okay, Charles Babbage. He is like, he's called father of computing because he invented his engine. He invented his engine, this one, analytical engine, with the concept of input, process, and output. It has input, process, and output. So which is used by the modern computer. All the modern computers are working according to this concept. Not using his engine, but the concept is same. Yaage engine එක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ. උනාට concept එක එකමයි. Inputs will be processed and outputs are generated. So his machine support that concept. But his machine is not a complete computer. It's only an engine. Only an engine. This engine was developed in 1830s by Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage ඉපදෙන්නේ 1700 ගණන් වල 1700 හරියට මම අවුරුද්ද මතක නැහැ 1700 ගණන් වල ඉපදෙන්නේ. එතකොට එයා introduce කරන්නේ 1800 ගණන් වල 1830s. He has introduced the engine. But unfortunately, this engine was not used by the people for a long time until the Second World War. In the Second World War time, that means by 1939, during this Second World War time, so they were interested in using his Charles Babbage engine and develop a computer. So this was developed by Harvard University in 1944. This is called Harvard Mark I computer. And the concept was, or the engine was from Charles Babbage. That is 100 years later. එතකොට මේ කාලේ Charles Babbage නැහැ. මොකද 1830 දී තමයි Charles Babbage engine එක අඳුන්වලා දෙන්නේ. එතකොට මේ engine එක use කරලා computer එක හදන්නේ 1944, February 1944. 80 years ago. Closer to 80 years, no? එතකොට 1944 කියන්නේ Babbage මේක අඳුන්වලා දීලා අවුරුදු 110කට විතර පස්සේ 114කට පස්සේ. So see how slow the development of computer. එතකොට 1944 ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගිය ආත්මේ සීයලා කාලෙදී තමයි සීයලා ආච්චිලා කාලෙදී තමයි මේක අඳුන්වලා දෙන්නේ. The first computer. So that is Harvard Mark I. So Harvard Mark I, it is does it say that Harvard Mark I, the weight of this computer, can you just tell me a figure, weight of this computer? How many tons? What do you think? How many tons? Ton means 1,000 kilos. So can you tell me the weight of this? Just estimation? No need to tell the exact figure. නිකන් අර කම්මැලිකම යන්නත් එක්ක පොඩ්ඩක් උත්තරයක් දෙන්නකෝ. මට ඔයගොල්ලන් කටහඬවල් අහලත් නෑ කාලෙකින් දැන් සති දෙකකින් විතර. Joel? Yes?
2 tons, 5 tons.
2, 5. Rovin?
1,000
6
kilograms.
tons.
1,000
Three-
kilogram is
6
1 ton.
tons.
Sorry, Shandaru?
6 tons. 3 tons.
So believe me or not, this weight of this one was 50 tons, means 50,000 kilograms. So now normally a vehicle, lightweight vehicle is like 1,000 kilograms, no 1 ton. So it's similar to 50 such vehicles, 50 lightweight vehicles, like a ship. So assume the size of the machine, right? It's like it's 50 tons. So weight of Mark 1. Weight of Mark 1. Okay, this is number of pounds, right? In tons. The entire system, this is like here. It's also not given the size. So here.
So the previous one showed 4.7 tons.
No, it's wrong, I think. Harvard. It's short tons, no? 4.3 short tons, but so yeah, this one, sorry.
In the first one, you have 5 tons.
Yeah. Tons. Mark 1, yes, Mark 1, sorry, not 50, 5 tons, right? Weight 5 tons, right? This is Mark 1, not 550, it's around 5 tons. So basically entire project, if you take the entire, so this is just the size, right? 8 feet height, 51 feet long, 3 feet deep, and weight 5 tons. Sorry, not 50, it's my mistake, it's 5 tons. Right, but here via for 730 separate parts. This is the size. Imagine the size. Anyway, 5 tons is even like 5 vehicles. It's large. Cannot move from one place to another place. Right? Cannot move from one place to another place.
So do they normally build in ground floors?
Sorry?
Normally build in ground floors, right?
Yeah, normally building ground floors. So its entire floor is occupied with the computer. Right? The entire floor is occupied with the computer. So see, to a 51 feet long means it's a very long building, 51 feet long building. Okay, so the next is, so after this invention, right? So after this invention, so then the next was, so you can see after 1944, the World War period is 1939 to 1945. Second World War is 1939 to 1945. A period because that period they were really interested in high speed communication and they were developing various researches. Under one research, this computing power is tested, and there's another research which actually tested networking power, that is called ARPANET. ARPANET, Advanced Research Project Agency Network, and that is the first form of internet. Actually, internet began as a result of Second World War. Internet began as a result of Second World War. So those are good results. So they tried to communicate during war using that ARPANET, later converted into the internet, which we are using currently. But then, right? So you can see the first electronic computer here. So that is not the Harvard Mark 1. It is not the first electronic computer because there were some mechanical parts. Mechanical parts means, so other than the switches and all, there are manual and mechanical. So manual and mechanical components. I think you have seen that cars and hand. So what that cars are called. Cars started using hand crank cars. So this is something you call manual and mechanical. So earlier days, the cars were started like this. Earlier days, cars were started by rotating the engine like this. So this was in earlier days, right? So similar to that, so this Mark 1 had, so a hand opening, but mechanical components, some gears, levers and all. But this ENIAC replaced all these things using switches, relays, basically, switches or relays, and diodes, resistors, capacitors. Those are the things used in these electronic computers. And this is treated as the first electronic computer in the world, ENIAC. First programmable electronic general purpose digital computer. But if you don't know, please write down, or you can underline which is there in the note, you can underline it, right? That is called the world first electronic computer. So you can see the size of the machine. So it has like in the ENIAC also, it has 5 million hand solder joints. Atim pasaputen million pahak vitara tibbay kiyala kiyana in this in this ENIAC machine. So then what was the initial problem of these computers? Make computers wala mokada tiyena main issue එක. Mark 1, ENIAC. So these computers were good for calculations, but there were major issues.
The heat.
They're too big.
Sorry?
So they were too big.
Can you repeat?
So they were too big.
They were too big. Yeah, it's not possible to move from one place to another place. So inflexible.
Consumption.
Sorry?
High electricity consumption.
Yes, it consumed high electricity and it also generated heat considerably, very high heat generated and not possible to move, larger in size. Right? Those are the fundamental issues. But with the invention of transistor, right? With the invention of transistor, significantly size of the computer were reduced. In the first generation, what was the technology used by the first generation computers? What was the technology used by the first generation computers? Yes.
Vacuum tube.
Vacuum tubes. I think you should know that. If not, please refer to this image. So if you have seen vacuum tubes, how many of you have seen vacuum tubes in real life? Vacuum tubes. So if you have like very old that wireless, you call wireless, right? Whatever that radios, very old TVs and radios, it is there in the circuit board. Right? Vacuum tube in old radio. So the old radio, when you right, in the old radios, so there were vacuum tubes, right? But those are in very old radios, right? This kind of thing. But I don't think that you have seen in real life these kind of things. So inside that there were vacuum tubes. Here you can see in circuit boards. But these equipments are very large. Later, with the invention of transistor, you can see vacuum tube was the transistor. Vacuum tube was transistor. Transistor is considerably very small component here. In 1947, transistors were introduced. As a result, computers introduced after that time was relatively smaller than these gigantic machines. So these were smaller. These were smaller. This is 4th generation. Actually, it uses ICs, integrated circuits, still smaller. I think you better write down the technologies, because these years and all these are confusing, because the book to book or source to source, the invented year is different, but the technology, right? Technology used by these computers, so were really, that is fixed. That is not going to change. Book to book, it's not changing. But years or the periods from source to source, there are slight changes, right? So please write over there. So one was asking, what is the cost? So cost is basically, you can't estimate because it's very large. It's a project, no? It's a research project. So normally, so there were no one, like there are no use of personal computers that time. No one is interested in buying computers, because even to buy a computer and keep it, it needs very large storage, as well as the cost was so billions of money. So therefore people, so they didn't buy computers that time, only compute. So these research laboratories, universities, research laboratories has this, their intention is not to sell these computers, just to do the researches. But the worth value of those computers, you can just search, Google it, value of Harvard Mark 1. Harvard Mark 1. But the intention is not to sell, right? Therefore, it's later it can be valued, but intention is not to sell the computer. Therefore, you will not see that. Even you search, yes, it seems the value is not mentioned. Right. Okay. So you can just further search it and let me know also, because I have not searched that properly. Next thing. So you have to write down these things, the major technologies used in the computer generation. Please write down the heading, major technologies in computer hardware generations. Major technologies used in computer hardware generations. So the first one is generation number 1, first generation. The technology was vacuum tubes. The second generation technology was transistors. Third generation technology was integrated circuits. Integrated circuit, transistors and integrated circuits. The fourth generation technology was large scale integration and very large scale integration. Fifth generation is ultra large scale integration and artificial intelligence. That is for fifth generation. Please write down this. Same hardware generations and programming language generations. Is it same or two things? Because some people confuse, right? That's why I'm asking. Is it same hardware generation and computer language generation? Is same or difference? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of programming languages generations? Okay. So if not, please write down that also major technologies, not major technologies actually, programming language generations. Please write down the second heading, programming languages. Programming languages or programming language generations. That is another thing that you should know. How programming language generations are changing. So here also you have 5 generations, the first generation to 5th generation. So what is first generation programming language? First generation. Okay, first generation is called machine language. Machine language. This is there in your previous grade, right? I think you can't remember the stuff over there. The second generation is called assembly language. The third generation is high level language. Fourth generation, it's high level and more human friendly languages. High level and more human friendly languages. And the 5th generation is artificial intelligence languages, AI languages. So that is programming language generations. So these hardware generations and programming language generations, those you should know, because the first generation with the vacuum tubes, machine language and assembly language both were used. In the second generation, with the transistors, assembly and high level both were used. And after that, in third generation, high level, fourth generation, high level and human friendly, and 5th generation, again, high level and artificial intelligence based languages were used. So that's why I really want you to write down both the programming language generations and hardware generation. Those are not same, right? So for an example, you cannot tell first generation vacuum tubes and machine language both. The second generation transistors and assembly language. No, these are not mapping directly. These are not mapping directly. These are two separate things. So how hardware developed and how software developed. There is 2 parts. There are 2 parts. Please write down the second one also. The programming language generations. How software developed. So that is not how hardware, similar to that hardware development. Hardware development was faster. Software development is quite slower, but still in some areas, some eras, it was faster than hardware development. Okay, please write down the both and let me know once you are done. ලියපු හැටි කියන්න.